Anger, it doesn't make you smarter. Now, simmer down and stay tuned for today's episode of Liberty at Home. Welcome back, friends, to our latest edition of Liberty at Home. I'm Pastor Adam Rivero from the Liberty Baptist Church right here in Easton. Today, as always, we're broadcasting from beautiful Easton, where our tricentennial celebration has begun. Happy 300th birthday, Easton. For our study today, we're looking at 2 verses in Proverbs 14. So let's get right to it. Join me as I read verses 16 and 17. And the Word of God says, "A wise man feareth and departeth from evil, but the fool rageth and is confident. He that is soon angry dealeth foolishly, and a man of wicked devices is hated." If you've lived in the Boston area for at least 5 minutes, you've heard someone talk about the blizzard of '78. And while I wasn't around for the blizzard of '78, I was here for February 2015, another winter that lives in infamy. It was during that month that we received over 10 feet of snow in about a, month and a half. For this native Floridian who'd only lived in New England for less than 2 years, it was absolute insanity. But as I consider the difficulty of that winter, it reminds me of a story dealing with anger, and one that is a little embarrassing, but I'm going to tell it anyway. After all, the internet is forever. What could go wrong, am I right? A couple of months before that fateful February, my mother had passed away from a brief but intense battle with cancer. The grief was overwhelming. And then on top of that, we added feet and feet of snow, which we were receiving and shoveling and receiving and shoveling and you get the picture. I think we all felt like we were about to snap, and I especially so. So on one Sunday morning, that February, we were getting ready for church, and we were running a bit late. My wife had made me a smoothie for breakfast because, she's wonderful. But as I was hurrying out the door with my briefcase in one hand and the cup of smoothie in the other, without a lid, mind you, I slipped on the ice and fell. But I didn't just fall. It was a full-on, feet come out from under you type of fall that was like something from the cartoons. And if that wasn't bad enough, the entire contents of that cup splattered all over my suit. In that moment, as I lay on the ice, with my body hurting, but my pride wounded even more, it was like the grief and anger of the past couple months that had built up just boiled over. With all my might, I took that cup and I threw it as far as I possibly could into our backyard that was still waist deep with snow. For about a half a second, I got to admit, it felt so good to give in to that anger. But then I looked over at my wife and children who were already in the car and watching me, and I realized what a fool I looked like. No, I didn't look like a fool because of the smoothie all over my clean suit. No, I looked like a fool because I gave into a fit of rage and acted every bit of a fool. Our text for today from Proverbs seems appropriate to how I acted on that fateful morning. He that is soon angry dealeth foolishly. It fit the bill, to be sure. By the way, a quick side note to that story, my young daughter Kaylee ran triumphantly into the house 2 months later holding the cup over her head like a trophy once the snow had finally melted. Well, my application today is purposely simple because you know what I'm about to say is true. Giving into anger may seem reasonable and rational in the moment, but it's not. And the destruction and consequences that come with anger are far more devastating than anyone ever realizes at the moment they explode. Now, I'll admit, the stakes were pretty low in the example I just gave of the snow, the smoothie, and the suit. But I probably have dozens of other examples that I would never give publicly because of my sorrow of how I let anger control me. Stories with much more devastating results. Consider Solomon's words in Ecclesiastes as we close for the day. He said, "Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools." Be careful the next time you're tempted to throw a fit, a tantrum, or a smoothie. As we close out this episode of Liberty at Home, I want to invite you to visit our church at 800 Washington Street in Easton. We have services on Sunday and Wednesday, and you can also watch our services online, all at mylibertybaptist.org. So whether you visit in person, watch online, or even listen via our podcast, you're always welcome at Liberty Baptist Church. Well, it's time to sign off, so I'll remind you that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. I'm Pastor Adam Rivero, and I hope you'll join us again next week for Liberty at Home.